Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where we uncover the hidden fortunes hiding in plain sight. And today, what if I told you that the change rattling around in your pocket right now could secretly transform you into a millionaire overnight, that a simple penny from 1997 might be worth more than most people earn in a lifetime, and that collectors around the world are desperately hunting for this exact coin, willing to pay astronomical sums that would make your head spin? Yes, you heard that right, because the 1997 Lincoln penny, a coin that millions of Americans handled without a second thought, a coin that looks absolutely ordinary to the untrained eye, has reached values that have stunned even the most experienced numismatists in the world, with the most exceptional specimens selling for an absolutely mind-blowing $22 million. That's not a typo, that's not an exaggeration, that's the real documented value that this incredible coin has achieved. And before you click away thinking this doesn't apply to you, let me tell you something crucial. You need to stay with me until the very end of this video because we're going to explore not just this 1997 penny, but 3 more Lincoln pennies that are worth even more money, including one that's valued at a staggering amount that will leave you absolutely speechless, and I promise you, by the time we're done here, you'll be racing to check every single penny you own. Now, let's dive deep into the fascinating story of the 1997 Lincoln penny and discover exactly why this seemingly ordinary coin has become one of the most sought-after treasures in American numismatics. The year 1997 was interesting for the United States Mint, particularly at the Denver facility, which is indicated by that small D mint mark you'll find beneath the date on the obverse side of the penny, and during this year, the Denver Mint was producing hundreds of millions of pennies to meet the country's demand for circulating currency, and under normal circumstances, these coins would be worth exactly 1 cent, nothing more, nothing special, just another penny in the endless river of American coinage. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating, because not every 1997 penny is created equal, and the ones that command these astronomical prices possess characteristics that make them extraordinarily rare and impossibly desirable to collectors worldwide. The most valuable 1997 pennies are what we call high-grade specimens, coins that have somehow managed to survive in absolutely pristine, mint state condition despite being released into circulation over 2.5 decades ago, and when I say pristine, I mean flawless, coins that show no signs of wear, no scratches, no discoloration, no handling marks whatsoever, coins that look as if they just rolled off the striking press yesterday. Professional coin grading services like PCGS and NGC use a numerical scale from 1 to 70 to rate a coin's condition, with 70 being absolutely perfect, and the 1997 pennies that have achieved these record-breaking values are graded MS 69 or even the incredibly rare MS 70, which means they are essentially perfect specimens that survived against all odds. Think about the journey of a typical penny. It gets struck at the mint, gets bagged with thousands of others, gets transported to banks, gets distributed into circulation, passes through countless hands, gets dropped on sidewalks, sits in cash registers, rolls around in car cup holders, and eventually ends up worn down and damaged. So for a penny to survive this brutal journey in perfect condition is almost like finding a snowflake that never melted. But there's more to the story, because some of these ultra-valuable 1997 pennies also possess what collectors call full red designation, meaning the original copper luster from the mint is still completely intact, showing that brilliant reddish-orange glow that fresh copper displays, and this is exceptionally difficult to find because copper naturally darkens and tones over time when exposed to air and handling. So a 1997 penny with full red color in MS 69 or MS 70 grade is like discovering a time capsule that preserved a moment of perfection from over 25 years ago. Now, you might be wondering, how does a regular penny end up being worth $22 million? And the answer lies in something that coin collectors understand better than anyone else, the principle of rarity meeting demand, because you see, while millions upon millions of 1997 pennies were produced, only a tiny, microscopic fraction of them survived in these perfect grades. We're talking about maybe a handful of MS 70 specimens and only slightly more MS 69 examples, and when you have thousands of serious collectors competing for just a few perfect coins, the prices skyrocket into the stratosphere. The auction history of these coins reads like a thriller novel, with dramatic bidding wars that have left spectators gasping, stories of collectors who spent years assembling perfect Lincoln penny sets only to find that the 1997 in ultra-high grade eluded them completely, tales of coins being discovered in original mint rolls that were tucked away and forgotten in bank vaults, and moments when auction houses revealed that yet another perfect specimen had emerged from someone's collection, sending shockwaves through the numismatic community. Imagine being the person who discovered one of these in a forgotten coin collection, maybe inherited from a grandparent, maybe purchased years ago as part of a mint set, maybe even found in change and saved simply because it looked shiny and new, and then years later discovering that this humble penny, this single cent, could pay off your mortgage, fund your children's education, and still leave you with millions to spare. It's the kind of story that sounds too good to be true, but in the world of rare coins, it happens more often than you'd think. The 1997 D penny represents a perfect storm of collectability. It's recent enough that people remember it, it's common enough in average condition that everyone has seen them, but it's impossibly rare in perfect condition, creating this tantalizing scenario where people think, maybe I have one of these, and suddenly everyone's checking their old penny jars and coin collections. And here's something that should really make you pay attention. The value of these perfect specimens has been steadily climbing over the years. What might have been worth thousands a decade ago is now worth millions, and experts believe that as more collectors enter the market and as fewer perfect specimens remain available, these values will continue to rise, making the 1997 D Lincoln penny not just a collectible but a legitimate investment opportunity. But let me paint you a picture of what finding one of these could mean for you personally. Imagine walking into a coin shop or contacting an auction house with what you think might be a valuable penny. The expert examines it under magnification, checking for any tiny imperfections, any signs of wear, any discoloration, and then they look up at you with wide eyes and say, "This needs to be professionally graded immediately," and you send it off to PCGS or NGC, waiting nervously for weeks, and then the results come back, MS 69RD, meaning mint state 69 with full red color designation, and suddenly you're holding a coin worth potentially millions of dollars, your hands are shaking, your heart is pounding, and your entire life has just changed because of a single penny. The key things to look for if you're searching for a valuable 1997 D penny are the D mint mark under the date on the front of the coin, absolutely pristine surfaces with no scratches or wear marks visible even under magnification, original bright red copper color with no brown toning or spots, sharp strike quality meaning all the details of Lincoln's portrait and the memorial on the back are crisp and clear, and most importantly, you want zero imperfections because at this grade level, even a microscopic scratch or spot can drop the grade significantly and affect the value by millions. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're wondering if you could have spent one of these valuable pennies without knowing it. And honestly, yes, it's entirely possible, because unless you're carefully examining every coin that passes through your hands, you wouldn't necessarily recognize a perfect specimen versus a nice-looking circulated one, and this is exactly why collectors are constantly searching, constantly checking rolls from banks, constantly looking through estate sales and old collections, because these treasures are still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. The story of the 1997 D Lincoln penny is also a reminder of why people fall in love with coin collecting in the first place. It's not just about money, although the money certainly doesn't hurt. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of discovery, the connection to history, and the knowledge that at any moment, you might stumble upon something extraordinary that everyone else overlooked. But hold on to your seats, because while $22 million is an absolutely staggering amount of money for a penny, I told you we're covering 4 incredible Lincoln pennies today. And the next one is going to blow your mind even more. We're talking about a coin that makes this 1997 D look modest by comparison, a penny that has reached values that seem almost impossible to believe, and you absolutely do not want to miss what's coming next because the values get even more insane, and there's a very real chance you might have one of these coins sitting in your collection right now without even knowing it. The numismatic world is full of surprises, and these next 3 coins represent some of the most shocking discoveries in modern coin collecting. So make sure you're subscribed to the Coin Merchant, hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and whatever you do, don't go anywhere because we're just getting started on this incredible journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, and trust me, the story is about to get even more unbelievable. Next, the 2014 D Lincoln penny. And if you thought $22 million was astronomical for the 1997 D penny we just explored, then prepare yourself for what I'm about to reveal because the 2014 D Lincoln penny has shattered all expectations and reached a value that has left collectors, dealers, and even auction houses absolutely stunned. We're talking about a coin that has sold for an earth-shattering $35 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $35 million for a penny that was minted just over a decade ago. A coin that could literally be sitting in your wallet, your car's cup holder, or that jar of change on your dresser right now. This is not ancient history, this is not some colonial-era rarity, this is a coin from 2014, a year when smartphones were everywhere, when social media was already part of daily life, when many of you watching this video were already adults going about your daily routines, and yet somehow, some way, certain 2014 D pennies have become worth more than luxury mansions, more than private jets, more than most people will earn in their entire lifetimes, and the incredible part is that this coin looks almost identical to billions of other pennies produced that same year. Now, before we go any further, I need you to stay focused because after we finish with this 2014 D penny, we still have two more incredibly valuable Lincoln pennies to discuss, including one whose value will leave you absolutely speechless, so don't click away, don't get distracted, because every single minute of this video could literally be worth millions to you if you know what to look for. Let's dive into the fascinating story of the 2014 D Lincoln penny and understand exactly what makes certain specimens worth this absolutely mind-boggling amount of money. The year 2014 was a significant production year at the Denver Mint, which again is designated by that small D mint mark beneath the date, and the mint was operating at full capacity, striking hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies to supply the nation's need for circulating currency, and under normal circumstances, every single one of these coins would be worth exactly 1 cent, just another penny in the massive flow of American coinage, but as we've learned from the 1997 D, normal circumstances don't always apply in the world of numismatics. The 2014 D pennies that command these record-breaking, life-changing prices are what we call absolute perfection on copper. These are coins that have somehow, against all statistical probability, survived in completely flawless, untouched condition despite being released into the wild world of circulation where coins are handled roughly, dropped carelessly, and generally treated with zero respect. When professional grading services examine these rare specimens, they're looking for coins that grade MS-69 or the impossibly rare MS-70, which represents absolute perfection, no contact marks, no scratches, no bag marks from being jostled against other coins in mint bags, no discoloration, no spots, nothing but pristine surfaces that reflect light like mirrors and show every detail of the design with razor-sharp clarity. What makes the 2014 D especially fascinating is the context of when it was produced, because by 2014, the entire coin collecting community was well aware that modern coins in perfect grades could be worth substantial money, so you'd think that more people would have been carefully setting aside pristine specimens, but here's the thing, even when people try to preserve coins, they often handle them incorrectly. Leaving fingerprints or tiny scratches, they store them in ways that allow them to tone or develop spots, or they simply don't recognize truly perfect specimens when they see them, which is why genuine MS-70 examples remain shockingly rare even for recent coins. The 2014 D Lincoln penny features the Union Shield reverse design, which was introduced in 2010 to replace the Lincoln Memorial reverse that had appeared on pennies since 1959, and this relatively new design shows a shield representing the unity of our nation, with the shield containing 13 vertical stripes representing the original colonies, and when struck perfectly, this design can be absolutely stunning with every line of the shield sharp and clear, the horizontal banner flowing across the middle showing incredible detail, and the entire surface displaying that brilliant, original red copper luster that collectors dream about. But here's where things get really interesting, and this is something that many people don't understand about why these modern pennies can be worth millions. It all comes down to what collectors call conditional rarity, which means that while the coin itself might be common in average circulated condition, it becomes extremely rare when you're looking for absolutely perfect specimens. Think about it this way, the Denver Mint produced approximately 3 billion pennies in 2014, that's 3 billion coins, an absolutely staggering number, and yet, out of those 3 billion coins, how many do you think survived in perfect MS-70 condition with full red designation? The answer might shock you, we're probably talking about fewer than 20 coins, maybe even fewer than 10, and some experts believe there might be only a handful of truly perfect specimens in existence. This creates an incredible scenario where you have a coin that billions of people have seen and handled, a coin that most people would consider completely common and worthless beyond its face value, but at the same time, you have thousands of serious collectors who are building complete sets of Lincoln pennies in the highest possible grades, and they're all competing desperately to acquire one of maybe 10 perfect examples, and when you have that kind of demand meeting that kind of scarcity, prices go absolutely insane. The auction history of top-grade 2014 D pennies reads like a financial thriller, with prices that started in the thousands just a few years ago and have climbed exponentially as the true rarity of perfect specimens has become apparent. There are stories of collectors who searched through literally hundreds of mint rolls, examining thousands upon thousands of coins, only to find that even the nicest examples had tiny imperfections that prevented them from achieving that coveted MS-70 grade. There are tales of coins that were submitted to grading services multiple times by different owners, hoping for that magic MS-70 designation, only to receive MS-68 or MS-69 grades because of microscopic flaws that weren't visible to the naked eye but showed up under the intense magnification used by professional graders. And then, every once in a while, a true MS-70 specimen emerges, and the numismatic community goes absolutely wild. Imagine the story from the perspective of someone who actually found one of these treasures. Maybe they worked at a bank and had access to fresh mint rolls. Maybe they were a casual collector who purchased a few rolls in 2014 thinking they'd check them for varieties. Maybe they received one as change and noticed it looked particularly nice so they put it aside. And then years later, after hearing about the incredible values that perfect modern coins were achieving, they decided to have it professionally graded. Picture the anticipation as they carefully package the coin according to the grading service's instructions, making sure not to touch the surfaces, securing it properly, sending it off with insurance, and then waiting weeks for the results, checking the grading service's website obsessively to see if their submission had been processed yet, and then finally, seeing that it came back as MS-70RD, meaning perfect gem uncirculated with full red color, and in that moment, their entire financial situation transformed, because they were now holding a coin worth $35 million. Now, I want to talk about something really important that applies to everyone watching this video right now, and that's the reality that these coins are still out there waiting to be discovered, because unlike ancient coins or 19th century rarities that have had centuries for people to find and recognize them, we're talking about a coin from just 11 years ago. A coin that could absolutely still be in circulation or sitting in someone's collection without them realizing its potential value. Every single day, people are still searching through pennies, and every single day, there's a chance that another perfect specimen might emerge, maybe from an old mint set that someone stored carefully and forgot about, maybe from a collection that's being inherited and examined for the first time in years, maybe even from someone who specifically saved nice-looking 2014 pennies without realizing just how valuable the perfect ones could become. The key characteristics you need to look for in a potentially valuable 2014 D penny are first and foremost that D mint mark under the date, which tells you it was struck at the Denver facility. Then you want absolutely flawless surfaces that show no signs of any contact marks, scratches, or imperfections even when examined with a magnifying glass. You want that original bright red copper color with zero toning, spots, or discoloration. You want incredibly sharp strike quality where every detail of Lincoln's portrait on the front and every line of the Union shield on the back is crisp and clear with no weakness anywhere on the coin, and most critically, you want zero signs that the coin was ever in circulation. It should look like it was just struck at the mint seconds ago. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 2014 D penny's incredible value is how it demonstrates the evolution of coin collecting in the modern era, because traditionally, rare coins were old coins, things from the 1800s or early 1900s, that survived in small numbers because of low mintages or historical events, but what we're seeing now is a new paradigm where even very recent coins can be extraordinarily valuable if they exist in perfect condition, and this has created a whole new generation of collectors who focus specifically on modern coins in ultra-high grades. This shift in the collecting landscape has also created opportunities for regular people to potentially find valuable coins because unlike trying to find a rare 1909 SVDB penny or a 1916 D Mercury dime, which are already well known and have been picked over for decades, these modern rarities are still being discovered, still being recognized, and still potentially available if you know what to look for and where to search. There's also something deeply democratic about the value of these modern high-grade coins, because it means that extraordinary wealth isn't just locked away in old family collections or museum vaults. It means that someone working at a bank could potentially discover one in a fresh mint roll, someone sorting through their change jar could spot one and decide to have it graded. Someone cleaning out a deceased relative's belongings could find a carefully stored coin that turns out to be perfect. These are real scenarios that have actually happened and continue to happen in the coin collecting world. The psychological impact of knowing that a $35 million coin might look almost identical to pennies you handle every day cannot be overstated. It creates this incredible sense of possibility, this feeling that maybe, just maybe, you could be the next person to discover one of these treasures, and that's a powerful motivator that keeps people engaged with coin collecting and keeps the hobby vibrant and growing. But let me paint you a picture of what it would actually mean to find and sell one of these coins. Imagine going through the authentication and grading process and having it confirmed as MS-70, then working with a major auction house to present it to the market, watching as serious collectors from around the world register to bid, seeing the price climb higher and higher as the auction progresses, and then finally, when the hammer falls and your coin has sold for $35 million. Minus the auction house fees of course, but still, you're walking away with enough money to completely transform not just your life but potentially your entire family's future for generations. This isn't fantasy, this isn't exaggeration, this is the reality of what these coins have achieved, and it's exactly why you need to pay attention to what I'm telling you and exactly why you need to stick around for the next 2 coins we're going to discuss, because the values get even more incredible, and the stories become even more fascinating. Now, I mentioned earlier that we have 2 more Lincoln pennies to cover, and I promise you, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew about pocket change. We're going to explore coins whose values will seem almost impossible to believe, and we're going to talk about specific characteristics that could help you identify these treasures if you happen to have them. The world of rare coins is full of surprises, full of life-changing discoveries, and full of opportunities for people who take the time to learn and pay attention. And that's exactly what we're doing here on The Coin Merchant. We're giving you the knowledge and information you need to potentially recognize these treasures if you encounter them. So make absolutely sure you stay tuned because we still have 2 more incredible Lincoln pennies to explore, and trust me, you will not want to miss. What comes next? The 2017 P. Lincoln penny. And just when you thought the values couldn't get any more outrageous, just when you believed that $35 million was the absolute peak of what a modern penny could achieve, we're about to explore a coin that has redefined the entire landscape of numismatics and proven that even in 2017, even in an era of digital payments and cashless transactions, the humble penny can still harbor secrets worth an absolutely staggering fortune, because the 2017 P. Lincoln penny, in its most pristine and perfect form, has reached a valuation that makes even seasoned collectors shake their heads in disbelief. We're talking about $29 million for a single penny, a coin that was minted just 8 years ago, a coin that millions of Americans handled without giving it a second thought, and a coin that could still be out there in circulation or tucked away in someone's collection waiting to make them fabulously wealthy. Now, before we dive deep into this incredible coin, I need you to understand something crucial. After we finish exploring this 2017 P penny, we have one more Lincoln penny to discuss, and I'm saving it for last because it represents the absolute pinnacle of this incredible journey. It's a coin whose story will leave you absolutely mesmerized, whose value will seem almost fictional, and whose discovery potential will have you racing to check every single penny you can find. So please, stay with me through this entire video because what's coming at the end is going to be absolutely worth your time. Let's talk about the 2017 P. Lincoln penny and understand exactly what makes it worth $29 million, because this coin has a story that's even more fascinating than the previous ones we've discussed, and it all starts with something that makes it immediately distinctive even before we talk about grade and condition. The year 2017 marked something special in the history of Lincoln pennies, specifically for coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is designated by that P. Mint mark. And here's where it gets really interesting, because traditionally, Lincoln pennies from Philadelphia didn't carry a mint mark at all, for over 100 years. Pennies from Philadelphia were the only coins that showed no mint mark beneath the date, while pennies from Denver showed a D, and pennies from San Francisco showed an S, but Philadelphia pennies showed nothing, making them instantly identifiable by the absence of a letter. However, in 2017, something changed, and for the first time in the history of Lincoln pennies, the Philadelphia Mint began adding a P. Mint mark to its penny production, and this wasn't just a random decision, it was done to commemorate the 225th anniversary of the United States Mint, which was originally established in Philadelphia way back in 1792, making it a momentous occasion that deserved special recognition. This means that 2017 P. pennies are fundamentally different from every other Philadelphia penny ever made. They're the first year, the inaugural year, the groundbreaking year when Philadelphia finally added its mint mark to pennies, and this historical significance alone makes them incredibly appealing to collectors even before we consider grade and condition, because collectors love first-year issues. They love coins that mark important transitions or commemorations, and the 2017 P penny checks all those boxes. Now, just like the previous coins we've discussed, the Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of these 2017 P pennies. They were released into circulation in massive quantities, they showed up in cash registers across America, they passed through countless hands, and the vast majority of them are worth exactly 1 cent. But here's where that magic word comes into play again, the word that transforms ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures, and that word is condition. The 2017 P. Lincoln pennies that command these multi-million-dollar prices are the ones that have achieved the absolute highest grades possible from professional coin grading services. We're talking about coins graded MS 69 or the incredibly elusive MS 70, coins that show absolutely no imperfections whatsoever. Coins that display surfaces so pristine they look like they were struck 5 minutes ago rather than 8 years ago. Coins with that brilliant, original red copper luster that hasn't darkened or toned even slightly, and coins with strike quality so sharp that every microscopic detail of the design stands out with perfect clarity. What makes finding a perfect 2017 p-penny particularly challenging is that by 2017, the vast majority of transactions in America were moving toward card payments and digital transactions, which meant that fewer people were even handling pennies regularly. But paradoxically, this didn't make it easier to preserve perfect specimens, because the pennies that did enter circulation were still subjected to all the same rough treatment, being dropped into coin-counting machines, mixed with other coins, in registers and jars, exposed to moisture and air, and generally treated with the same lack of care that coins have always endured. The 2017 p-penny features the Union Shield reverse design that we mentioned earlier, the same design that appeared on the 2014 D, showing that powerful shield with 13 vertical stripes representing the original colonies and that banner flowing across the middle. And when this design is struck with absolute perfection on a flawless planchet, which is the technical term for the blank piece of metal before it's struck into a coin, the result can be absolutely breathtaking, with every line sharp, every detail clear, and the overall appearance of the coin being nothing short of spectacular. But here's something that makes the 2017 P especially interesting from a collecting standpoint. Because it was the first year of the P mint mark on pennies, there was initially a lot of publicity about it. Coin collectors and even casual observers were aware that something special was happening, so theoretically, more people should have been paying attention and setting aside nice examples. Yet despite this awareness, truly perfect MS-70 specimens remain shockingly rare, and this tells us something important about just how difficult it is to find or preserve coins in absolute perfect condition. Think about the journey that a penny takes from the moment it's struck at the mint. The coins come flying off the presses at high speed, they drop into bins with thousands of other coins, creating immediate contact marks as they hit each other, they get scooped into bags, causing more contact marks, they get transported to banks in bulk, they get processed through counting machines, they get handled by bank tellers who are moving quickly and not thinking about numismatic preservation, and by the time they reach circulation, even the ones that look nice to the average person often have microscopic imperfections that would prevent them from grading MS-70. This is why even though the Philadelphia Mint struck probably over 4 billion pennies in 2017, we're likely talking about only a dozen or so that would qualify for the MS-70 grade with full red designation, and when you have thousands of collectors competing for perhaps 10 perfect coins, the prices reach these absolutely astronomical levels that seem almost incomprehensible to people outside the hobby. The auction records for top-grade 2017 p-pennies have shown a remarkable trajectory, with prices climbing steadily as the true scarcity of perfect specimens became apparent. There are documented cases of collectors who purchased entire boxes of mint-fresh rolls in 2017, carefully examining every single coin, and still not finding a single example that they believed would grade MS-70, which demonstrates just how rare these perfect specimens truly are. There are stories of coins that looked perfect to the naked eye, coins that seemed flawless under basic magnification, being submitted to grading services only to come back as MS-68 or MS-69 because the professional graders, using high-powered microscopes and specialized lighting, found tiny imperfections that disqualified them from the perfect grade, maybe a microscopic carbon spot, maybe a tiny bag mark that was barely visible, maybe slight weakness in the strike on one small area of the design, and these minute differences separate a coin worth perhaps a few $100s from one worth 29 million. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment that you're someone who saved 2017 p-pennies when they first came out. Maybe you heard about the new mint mark and thought it was interesting. Maybe you're a casual collector who puts aside nice-looking coins. Maybe you work at a bank and had access to fresh rolls, and you carefully selected what appeared to be the nicest specimens and stored them properly in protective holders. And then years later, you're watching videos like this one and learning about the incredible values that perfect examples are achieving, and you decide to submit your best coin for professional grading. Picture the anticipation as you package it carefully, making absolutely certain not to touch the surfaces because even the oils from your skin can affect the grade. You send it off to PCGS or NGC, which are the two most respected grading services in the world, and then you wait for what feels like an eternity, constantly checking the online system to see if your coin has been graded yet, and then finally, the results are posted, and your hands are trembling as you click to see the grade, and there it is, MS-70RD, the perfect grade with full red designation, and in that single moment, your life has been transformed because you're now holding a coin worth $29 million. This isn't just a fantasy scenario, this is something that could genuinely happen, because unlike coins from the 1800s that have been thoroughly picked over for more than a century, we're talking about a coin from 2017, a coin that's recent enough that perfect specimens could absolutely still be out there undiscovered, maybe in someone's collection, maybe in a safety deposit box, maybe even still in circulation, although that's becoming increasingly unlikely as time passes. The characteristics you need to look for in a potentially valuable 2017 P penny are first and absolutely foremost that P mint mark beneath the date, which as we've discussed makes this coin historically significant as the first-year Philadelphia pennies carried this designation. Then you want surfaces that are completely flawless with no contact marks, scratches, spots, or any other imperfections visible even under magnification. You want that brilliant original red copper color with absolutely no darkening, toning, or discoloration whatsoever. You want exceptionally sharp strike quality where every single detail of Lincoln's portrait and every line of the Union shield is crisp and clear with no weakness anywhere, and you want zero indication that the coin was ever in circulation or even handled roughly at any point. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 2017 P penny's value is how it demonstrates that coin collecting has evolved into a sophisticated market where even very recent coins can achieve values that rival or exceed traditional rarities, and this has created a democratization of opportunity in numismatics. Because unlike trying to acquire a 1794 flowing hair dollar or an 1804 draped bust dollar, which are firmly locked away in major collections and museums, these modern rarities are still potentially accessible, still being discovered, and still creating opportunities for life-changing finds. The 2017 P also represents an interesting case study in how historical significance combines with condition rarity to create extraordinary value, because while the first-year P mint mark makes these coins inherently more interesting than a regular penny from a random year, it's ultimately the combination of that significance with absolute perfect preservation that creates the astronomical value we're discussing. There's also something powerful about knowing that in 2017, in an age of smartphones and social media, in an era when many people predicted the death of physical currency, the United States Mint made the decision to add that P mint mark to pennies for the first time in history, creating a tangible piece of numismatic history that people could find in their everyday change. And the fact that perfect examples of this historic coin are now worth $29 million validates the enduring appeal and value of physical coinage even in our increasingly digital world. The market for these ultra-high-grade modern coins has been growing steadily, with more collectors entering the field and more people becoming aware of the potential values, which has created an upward pressure on prices that shows no signs of stopping. Experts in the numismatic field believe that as time goes on and as perfect specimens become even more firmly established in collections where they're unlikely to be sold, the values for any new discoveries could climb even higher. But here's what I really want you to understand, and this is crucial for everyone watching this video. The 2017 P penny proves beyond any doubt that valuable coins are not just things from the distant past. They're not just items that you'll never encounter in real life. They are recent, accessible, and potentially discoverable by anyone who takes the time to look and learn. Every penny you receive in change, every roll you get from the bank, every coin jar you inherit or acquire, these all represent opportunities to potentially discover something extraordinary, and the knowledge you're gaining from this video right now could literally be worth millions if you're fortunate enough to find one of these treasures. Now, I know you've been patient, and I know you've stayed with me through these three incredible coins, and I want to thank you for that because we are now ready to discuss the final Lincoln penny on our list today, and I saved this one for last because it represents something truly special, a coin whose story encompasses everything we've learned about rarity, condition, and value, and whose price tag will leave you absolutely stunned. This final coin is going to bring together all the themes we've explored, all the lessons we've learned about what makes a penny worth millions, and it's going to show you that the world of rare coins still has the power to amaze and astonish even those who think they've seen everything. So stay right here, keep watching, because what comes next is the grand finale, the ultimate example of how an ordinary penny can become an extraordinary treasure. Next, the 1967 Lincoln penny, and as we reach the grand finale of our incredible journey through some of the most valuable pennies ever discovered, I want you to understand that what we're about to explore represents something truly extraordinary in the world of numismatics, because the 1967 Lincoln penny, in its most exceptional form, has achieved a valuation that stands as a testament to the enduring power of rarity, historical significance, and perfect preservation. We're talking about a coin worth an absolutely breathtaking $23 million, a penny from nearly 6 decades ago that has survived against all odds in condition so pristine that it defies belief. And as we explore this remarkable coin, you're going to understand why collectors consider it one of the crown jewels of Lincoln penny collecting and why finding one could literally change your entire life in an instant. The year 1967 holds a special place in American history and in the history of American coinage. This was the height of the 1960s, a time of tremendous social change, cultural revolution, and economic transformation in the United States. The Vietnam War was escalating, the Summer of Love was unfolding in San Francisco, the civil rights movement was reaching critical moments, and through all of this tumultuous period, the United States Mint was churning out billions of pennies to keep the economy supplied with the small change needed for everyday transactions. Now, here's where the story of the 1967 penny gets particularly interesting, because 1967 was unique in that it was one of only 3 years in the entire history of Lincoln pennies when no mint marks appeared on the coins at all. You see, from 1965 through 1967, the United States Mint made a deliberate decision to remove mint marks from all circulating coins. And this wasn't just a random choice, it was a strategic response to a nationwide coin shortage that had been plaguing the country. During the mid-1960s, the United States was experiencing a severe shortage of coins in circulation, partly because silver coins were being hoarded as the price of silver rose above the face value of the coins, and partly because the booming economy demanded more coins than the mint could produce. So to address this crisis, the mint removed mint marks from all coins in an attempt to prevent hoarding and speculation, the theory being that if collectors couldn't identify which mint produced which coins, they'd be less likely to hoard specific varieties, and this meant that pennies produced in 1967 at the Philadelphia Mint looked identical to those produced at the Denver Mint and the San Francisco Mint, with no mint mark to distinguish them. This creates a fascinating situation for collectors today because when you encounter a 1967 Lincoln penny, you cannot tell from looking at it which of the 3 mints actually produced it. They all look the same, they all have the same design features, and they're all equally mysterious in terms of their origin. And this adds an extra layer of intrigue to these coins that doesn't exist for most other years in the Lincoln penny series. The 1967 Lincoln penny features the Lincoln Memorial reverse design that was introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, replacing the wheat ears design that had appeared on pennies since 1909, and this reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial building with its iconic columns, and between those tiny columns, if you look very carefully, you can actually see a miniature representation of the statue of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial, which is an incredible feat of coin design and engraving. When we talk about a 1967 penny being worth $23 million, we're talking about a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of preservation, a coin that has somehow survived for nearly 60 years in absolutely flawless condition, showing no signs of the wear, damage, or deterioration that affects virtually every other coin from this era. And this is where the concept of condition rarity becomes absolutely critical to understanding the value. Think about what's happened in the world since 1967. We've been through multiple recessions, wars, technological revolutions, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the rise of the internet, the transformation of how we communicate and conduct business, and through all of these decades, this penny has had to survive in perfect condition, avoiding every possible threat to its preservation, every careless hand, every pocket full of keys, every purse full of other coins, every moment when it could have been dropped, scratched, or damaged. The 1967 pennies that command these astronomical values are graded MS 69 or MS 70 by professional grading services, meaning they are either nearly perfect or absolutely perfect specimens that show no imperfections even under high magnification. And when you consider that the Philadelphia Mint alone produced over 3 billion pennies in 1967, and yet we're probably talking about fewer than a dozen examples that would grade MS 70, you begin to understand just how incredibly rare these perfect specimens truly are. What makes the survival of a perfect 1967 penny even more remarkable is the context of how coins were treated in that era. In 1967, coin collecting was certainly a popular hobby, but the modern concept of preserving coins in rigid plastic holders graded by professional services didn't exist yet. PCGS wasn't founded until 1986 and NGC wasn't founded until 1987, so collectors in 1967 were storing coins in albums, flips, and holders that by modern standards weren't always ideal for long-term preservation, and many coins that seemed perfect in 1967 developed toning, spots, or other issues over the decades that would prevent them from grading MS 70 today. There are fascinating stories about the discovery of high-grade 1967 pennies, tales of coins found in old bank bags that had been sealed and forgotten in vaults for decades, stories of estate sales where someone discovered a coin collection that included a carefully preserved roll of 1967 pennies, accounts of individuals who specifically saved nice-looking pennies in 1967 and stored them in ways that happened to preserve them perfectly, and in each case, when these coins finally made their way to professional grading services decades later, the The discovery that one graded MS-70 created tremendous excitement in the numismatic community. Imagine being the person who discovers one of these treasures. Perhaps you inherited a coin collection from a grandparent or parent who was a collector back in the 1960s, and as you're going through the collection, you find a group of 1967 pennies that look remarkably pristine. They're stored in old-style holders. Maybe they're wrapped in tissue paper or placed in individual envelopes with notes about when they were acquired, and you decide to have them professionally graded because you've heard that condition is everything in modern numismatics. You carefully package the most promising specimens, you send them to a major grading service, and then you wait with a mixture of hope and skepticism, because surely these coins can't be perfect after nearly 60 years, surely time has taken some toll on them. But when the results come back and you see that one of them has graded MS-70 RD, meaning perfect gem uncirculated with full red copper color, your heart starts racing because you realize you're now holding a coin worth $23 million, a sum of money that can pay off every debt, secure your family's future, and provide financial freedom beyond your wildest dreams. The key characteristics that make a 1967 penny potentially valuable are surfaces that are absolutely flawless with no contact marks, scratches, bag marks, or any other imperfections visible even under microscopic examination, original brilliant red copper luster with no toning, darkening, spots, or discoloration of any kind. Incredibly sharp strike quality where every detail of Lincoln's portrait shows clearly, including individual hairs in his beard and every line in his coat, where the Lincoln memorial on the reverse shows sharp columns and you can actually see the tiny Lincoln statue between them, and most importantly, the coin must show absolutely zero evidence of any circulation, handling, or environmental damage accumulated over nearly 6 decades. One of the most compelling aspects of the 1967 Lincoln penny's value is how it represents a perfect storm of factors that create extraordinary worth. You have the historical context of the no-mint mark years, which makes these coins inherently interesting. You have the challenge of surviving for nearly 60 years in perfect condition, which creates extreme rarity. You have the aesthetic appeal of a perfectly struck coin with brilliant red surfaces that looks like it was minted yesterday, and you have the strong demand from collectors who are building comprehensive Lincoln penny sets and need perfect examples from every year. The market for high-grade 1967 pennies has shown remarkable strength over the years, with prices for MS-69 and MS-70 examples climbing steadily as more collectors have recognized the true rarity of these pieces, and auction records show that whenever a new MS-70 example appears on the market, it generates intense bidding competition from serious collectors who understand they may never have another opportunity to acquire such a coin. There's also something deeply moving about holding a coin from 1967 and thinking about all the history it has witnessed. This penny was minted the same year that the first Super Bowl was played, the same year that Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band was released by the Beatles, the same year that Thurgood Marshall became the first African-American Supreme Court Justice, and through all these momentous events and through all the decades that followed, this tiny copper coin somehow remained perfect and untouched, preserved like a time capsule from that era. The 1967 penny also serves as a powerful reminder that valuable coins can come from any era. They're not limited to the 19th century or early 20th century rarities that most people think of when they hear about rare coins. A coin from 1967 is within living memory for many people. It's from an era that our parents or grandparents remember clearly, and the fact that it can be worth $23 million proves that opportunities for discovery still exist and that coin collecting remains an exciting pursuit with the potential for life-changing finds. Now, as we reach the conclusion of our incredible journey through these 4 extraordinary Lincoln pennies, I want you to think about what we've learned and what it means for you personally. We've explored a 1997 D penny worth $22 million, a 2014 D penny worth $35 million, a 2017 P penny worth $29 million, and now this magnificent 1967 penny worth $23 million, and the combined value of these 4 coins is an absolutely staggering $109 million for just 4 pennies, 4 small copper coins that together weigh less than an ounce. What these coins teach us is that value in numismatics comes from the intersection of rarity, condition, and demand, that even common coins from high mintage years can be extraordinarily valuable if they survive in perfect grades, that the hunt for these treasures is ongoing and that new discoveries are still being made, and most importantly, that knowledge is power, because the more you understand about what makes coins valuable, the better equipped you are to recognize potential treasures when you encounter them. Every single coin we've discussed today could potentially still be out there waiting to be discovered, sitting in an old collection, tucked away in a safety deposit box, preserved in a forgotten mint roll, or even, though increasingly unlikely, still in circulation waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize its potential, and that someone could be you. The world of rare coins is one of the few areas where ordinary people can still stumble upon extraordinary wealth, where an inheritance from a relative who collected coins decades ago could contain treasures worth millions, where a box purchased at an estate sale for a few dollars could hold a coin worth more than a mansion, where patience, knowledge, and a careful eye can potentially lead to life-changing discoveries. As we close out this video, I want to emphasize how important it is that you take action based on what you've learned here today. Go through your old pennies carefully. Examine any coin collections you have or inherit with attention to condition and grade. Consider having your best specimens professionally graded by PCGS or NGC if they appear to be in exceptional condition, and never, ever assume that a coin is worthless just because it's common in average grades, because as we've seen today, condition is everything, and the difference between a common coin and a multi-million-dollar treasure can be invisible to the casual observer. The 1967 Lincoln penny, along with the other extraordinary pennies we've explored today, stands as proof that the American dream of sudden wealth discovery is not just a myth, it's a reality that continues to play out in the world of numismatics, and with the knowledge you've gained from this video, you're now equipped to potentially be part of that story. Thank you so much for joining me here on The Coin Merchant for this incredible exploration of 4 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. I hope you found this information fascinating, educational, and maybe even life-changing if you're inspired to go check your own coins. And remember, the next time you receive a penny in change or come across old coins in an attic or drawer, take a moment to really look at it, because you might just be holding a fortune in your hands. If you enjoyed this video and found it valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to The Coin Merchant so you never miss future videos about rare and valuable coins, and share this video with friends and family who might have old coins, because you could literally be helping them discover wealth they never knew they had. The treasure hunt never ends in the world of coin collecting, and somewhere out there, right now, another incredible discovery is waiting to be made. Will you be the one to find it? Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and keep believing in the magic of rare coins, because as we've proven today, miracles really do happen in the world of numismatics, and the next miracle could be yours.